out for a pedal. We've got a lockdown coming in pretty soon, in fact very soon, so in England, so thought I'd better get out on the bike and enjoy it, particularly as I've got a new bike. I sold the Canyon Ultimate and got something that's a bit more in line with the sort of riding that I want to do. So what I was going to do is talk about space when you're bike packing, space for your kit and so on. Now if you're a backpacker, weight is the most important thing, obviously, because you've got to carry it. Volume probably comes a little way after that. But certainly when I used to go backpacking, if I was going to go out for 2 nights, then I'd probably have about 40, 45 litres of gear that I would take with me. I think you can go lighter, you can get down to about 35, maybe 30, depends on what sort of kit you want to take, what sort of comfort levels you want, what sort of sleep system you're going to go for, etc. But I used to go with a bivvy and just for a couple of nights, and that's the sort of size of the kit that I would take. But if you're going to go bike packing, the weight isn't so important unless you're doing lots of hills, then it obviously is, but I found that the more important thing for me is space and where to put stuff. Now if I was going out on my Mason Boker, then I could probably take about 50 litres. Well, I can take 50 litres, so I'll just go through those. So this is with an Apidura expedition set. Saddlebag is 17 litres, your bar bag is 14, 4.5 for the accessory bag, 2 fork bags, 4.5 each. Your half frame bag, so you can get some water in, is about 5.3, and then you've got your top tube bag of about 1. So you're looking at 50 litres there pretty much, in terms of your low carrying capacity. So that's good really. So if you're going to go out for a summer, reasonably good weather, couple of nights camping, etc., then that bike can take it. However, if you're going to go out in the winter, then it's going to struggle. And the other thing that I found, particularly on the first night that I went out into France, in fact the first morning, it was in the dark and I had to do an off-road section, and that bike was absolutely loaded up, not with the fork bags admittedly, but loaded all the way up, so it's probably in the region of 42, 43 litres, quite heavy, and on the trail that I was on, it was really gnarly and really steep descent, and trying to maneuver the bike when you got all that weight and bulk on it was actually really difficult, I found. I then did another trip again. I've done a few trips out, obviously out to Wales, and the recent one I did with Chris. Now most of the things you do out in Wales on a Mason Boker is absolutely fine for, but there are definitely limits to the bike, but there are definitely limits when it comes to fitting all your gear on there as well, and riding a fully loaded bike on really rough terrain. I would only want to do that sort of riding with about 35 litres of gear and the associated weight to go with that. Plus, if you're going to go in the winter, all right, how much gear do you need in the winter? Well, if I was going to go backpacking, I'd be taking a good 65-70 litres worth of gear that I would need to be carrying, somewhere in that region. Now I just can't carry that sort of gear on my Boker. So the issues I've got then are, number one, I've got an issue with the bags. I don't like how the bags fit onto the bike particularly. I want to carry more gear because I want to do a bit more winter riding, and I want the gear to be more stable and locked into the bike and easier to get in and out and just to manage. So there we go. So that was my issue with the Boker. It's fantastic on the road. If you're going to load the bike up with those 50 litres, that will get you I got no issues on the road with that bike, brilliant. But if I go off-road, I need to unload it a little bit. So I decided, look, I'm getting rid of the Canyon Ultimate, so I'm going to get another bike. Trek 1120. Very different. So yeah, I could have gone for another mountain bike really, but the difference, and I've got a mountain bike, the Scott Scale 760, which is a nice bike. It's got a front sus on it, which this one doesn't. This one's got dedicated fork mounts, which the other one didn't, but I've got some brackets which I put on there. So I mean, what's the big difference? This is a 29er, so I kind of wanted to go for something bigger, something with the bigger tires, so that I could do some off-road, single track, some rough terrain, that sort of thing. But I could do all that with a fully loaded bike, where the bag system didn't get in the way. Now what I had on the Scott Scale was on the seat pack was sort of a rigid bar that went out, and then the the bag then slid onto that and locked in, so it didn't really, it didn't sway from side to side, but the bar bag was terrible, and with the front sus, whenever I was using the front sus, it wouldn't bottom out, but if it was really rough and downhill, there's a lot of weight forward, then it would end up rubbing the bag, and I put a hole in it already. So it just wasn't, and it's quite a racy bike, the Scott Scale, quite a racy, aggressive riding position. I wanted something a little bit more comfortable, and that I could really load up. So here we go. So what this bike allows me to do is, whereas your Mason Boker, I can load up to about 50 litres, but really only about 40 litres if I'm going to do some rough off-road stuff, whereas this thing I can load up to 70 litres, 65 litres really. But yeah, I'll talk about it again in a second, but I can really load this bike up, loads of gear for the winter, and it can do a load of off-road, and the bag system's really simple, so it really answered all my main points I was looking for. So that's the only reason I went for it, and I wouldn't normally go for a big brand. I now prefer the smaller brands who need people to support them and buy stuff, but there was nothing really that compared to this bike. So other bikes that were out there, I suppose, were something like the Mason ISO. So it's very similar to the Boker, but it's a 29er. It takes 2.4 inch tires as a 29er. It's got drop bars. It does have a basket, sort of a carrier on the front if you want. It's so it's similar to that, to this bike in that respect, but it's too close to a Boker, so I'd be spending all that money to get a bike that was essentially just a bit more of a hardcore Boker, for a bit more off-road, and they're not particularly that fast on road. This thing certainly isn't fast on the road, but I want this bike to be able to do 80% off-road and sort of 20% on-road, you know, so do a bit of road work, but most of the time I want to be enjoying getting off the road. The Boker's great for 50-50 really, with the 650Bs on, yeah, 50-50, no problem. But like I say, it's just limited in the amount of kit it can carry. I literally have just chucked bags on because of this lockdown coming up, and so I'm just legging it out there. Got out of work early, legging it out just to go and up into the hills, get a hammock out, have a couple of tinnies, have a curry, and head home first thing in the morning. Okay, I've got about 45 minutes till it gets dark. I like to be at where I'm going to stay for the night, a good hour, if not an hour and a half before it gets dark. But yeah, it's going to get dark just after 4, so I don't want to get there too early. I've been hanging around all night, but watching YouTube. But yeah, so a real quick look over the bike. It's just an initial look really. I haven't ridden this bike. I've ridden it to the park and back, you know, so hasn't been out really at all. So first time, haven't really loaded it up heavy. I'll have a quick look then. So the rear rack, you can get, I think it's 12 kilograms onto there. Normally 8-litre bags each side, but you can get a 10-litre one, I think, really. And you could put something up here as well, so I do have a 10-litre bag which I can fit on there. A little mount for a light. It's got a dropper post. Don't know how much I'll use that, but anyway, there has been an issue apparently with down here with, I think it's this one, it may be that one, but I think it's this one, even with a correct weight, with this failing. Now this was a couple of years ago, so I'm kind of hoping that they've fixed that now. It's got SRAM, not a particularly high group set. I don't know much about SRAM, but yeah, I think it's 15mm through axles for a big bike like this. 3-inch tyres, 29-inch wheels, 3-inch tyres. They are tubeless ready, but I don't have tubes in these yet. Sorry, I do have tubes in these at the moment. So I haven't got much gear, but I've got enough for hammock, some food, got some water in there, fits on quite nicely. Frame bag from the old mountain bike, which I'm still going to keep, so that's in there. A little bit of protective tape on. The saddle apparently is terrible on this bike, so I swapped it out. I just got this old one on, which is doing just fine. Onto the bars, etc. I don't like the grips. I'm finding those uncomfortable already. There's the for the dropper post down there. Yeah, hydraulic brakes, they're all fine. I'm not sure about the bars. A lot of people have changed their bars out. I'm going to give these a go and see how they go, but they seem okay at the moment, to be quite honest. Cabling all looks external, which actually I think I'd prefer with a bike like this. Now some bikes have this on it, some bikes don't, and I think it's down to the size of frame. I think the small frame doesn't have this little extra in here. I think the larger frame for larger people has a little bit of extra support in there. I'm guessing that's what goes in there, which is a bit of a pain because I've got a nice little bag which would fit just in here, which will be a little bit more awkward if it goes onto there. A little fuel tank. Right. I've got quite a lot of pressure in these, so I've got some anything cages, also anything cages on there. I haven't used those this time. The front rack, so this can take 7 kilograms. It's got all these little knobbly bits to get hold on with straps and so on, so it's a pretty good idea in that respect. So easy to put this on. I couldn't believe how easy it was. So yeah, so it can hold 7 kilograms. So it's a 20-litre bag, but it's nowhere near full, and it's absolutely fine. It's lovely how just these off, bag comes straight out. I think I've got to add, I'm not really giving this bike any justice at the moment. Not really giving it any justice. It's built to go off-road, and this ride is about 70% on the road. But it's best I can do in the time I've got. I've actually got no idea where I'm going. Up on the hills, I'll find somewhere. Loads of woods up there. It is slow on the roads though. You just got to get used to that, I suppose. You go from road bikes to gravel bikes down to something heavy like this. I can't remember how heavy it is. The whole thing's about 12 kilograms, 11 kilograms. It's in that sort of region. But I don't think that really matters. It's built to do a job. When I first arrived, I unpacked it, put it next to my Scott scale, which is a 27.5-inch wheel hardtail, and it looked pathetic. This thing is a monster. It really is a big bike, but it's certainly built for the job. I think it's quite light considering how big it is. Yeah. Oh, the worst thing, it's got a press fit bottom bracket. Who puts that on a bike packing rig? Ridiculous. It's quite cold. It's going going to get down to about 4 degrees tonight. What's that in your 20 Fahrenheit? This place smells of cider apples. They'll be they must have harvested them by now. There's probably all the rotting cider apples on the ground. The scourge of road cyclists in England in the winter. Bloody farmers trimming the hedge, which they've got to do, I know. But all the rubbish on the you guarantee to get a puncture. That's the last thing I want with tubes in this thing, having never dealt with 3-inch tyres, and I've got no idea if these things come off easy or not. I really don't want to get any punctures today until I get this thing tubeless. These are British roads, just covered in, my god, it's a big one, absolutely covered in debris and mud and poo. That's winter riding in the UK, unless you're going to get on the main roads, which I don't really do anymore. I don't know why I'm worrying about this. I got 3-inch tyres. Surely it's just going to roll over them. Right, sunset. Don't know where I'm staying yet. It is a little bit daunting, certainly when I first started doing this, and I still find it a little bit when you don't know where you're going to be for the night. And so it's sun's going down. I've literally got 30 minutes till it's dark to find somewhere. Okay, perfect. Wood in there. Still quite daylight, quite a lot of daylight left in there. Quite clear floor. Trouble is I can't get my bike up that. Perfect. Alright, let's get in there because I want to get set up. But I've got about 10 minutes of light left, so looks like a public footpath to me. Probably can't see anything, but so I'm in the wood. It's pretty black now. Got my hammock out and it's going to start setting that up, but I'm not sure about this wood. The top end up there was full of what looked like dead ash. It's quite near the road, so I certainly won't be lighting any fire tonight, although there's tons of wood here. I might get a little one going. No, I won't. I'm not going to do that in here. Loads of dead wood. I'll just get the little alcohol cooker going, keep relatively quiet in case people are walking up and down there. I've had my eye on this wood for quite a while just to see what it's like. It's a very pretty little wood, but there's no real access into it as a bat. Well, I would say morning, but it's only about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the weather has come in, and there's rain chucking it down. I just had to get out of here and sort my tarp out, which had lost control. Yeah, it's all foggy and cloud and rain and pretty crap. But yeah, one app that's really good is AccuWeather, so I've just been watching that and just seeing the rain come in. For the last couple of hours I've been awake, but I got another about 3 hours until I get sunlight, so I'm gonna get my head back down again, or try anyway. But yeah, I knew this weather was coming in. So another good thing about the bike is that all my food stuff last night, so I just had my curry and just one beer. Weird. I can't believe I only had one beer. Yeah, so all of that, not the beers, they're in my backpack, but all my food and cooking stuff and all that stuff all goes in one bag on one side of the back, on the back rack, and the other side, oh, you're fogging up, hold on. There's a lot of fog. And the other side is all my sleep set, so the sleeping bag, under quilt, sleeping bag liner, and all that sort of stuff. So I've managed to pack all my cooking stuff away in its bag on its
back side of the rack, and my sleep setup. That is literally my dry bag that goes on the other side at the back. My sleeping bag and my underquilt will literally, I'm not even going to put them in their own bags, I'm just going to stuff them all the way down into there. It's a waterproof bag, and that'll go on the other side. And then the big roll bag that goes on the front, that's all set now ready, so that I just literally have to put the snake skins over this hammock, untie it, and straight into that bag. So I should be out of here in 15 minutes. Now normally it takes me about 45 minutes to get all the individual bits out, pack them up, but if you just got big dry bags, you can just stuff all the stuff in there as long as it's dry, you're not mixing dry and wet stuff. But anyway, maybe see you in the morning. I might just get on with it. Cheers. Morning. It's it's probably time almost to get up. I think I'm having a Haribo breakfast, not what I planned. But I can't be bothered to get everything out. The rain has stopped, but the wind is nuts. And and I'm gonna have a tailwind all the way home. Woohoo! But I probably shouldn't be in a wood with dead trees around, in a hammock in a wind like this. Now the dead trees are all a long way up that way. They're quite tall trees, but I still think I've got a comfortable distance from them.
There we go, pretty much done. So that was actually pretty quick, it's about 20 minutes. But it's a lot easier with that. A lot easier than trying to tighten up your big 17-litre saddlebag, and real easy. That the big one on the front, just chuck it all in, roll it up, no need to mess around. No need to mess around, and it straps on real quick. Yeah, so much easier. The worst bit is always putting the sleeping bag in the stuff sack. I hate it. I really hate. The language was awful. So I'm glad you didn't have to listen to that. So, leave no trace. I have done a good check. I lost one bag, which I had to go and run off and try and hunt down over there because of the wind, but there we go. Got my rubbish in the back. And we get out of here. The rain is in about 10 minutes, so I'm now set ready to go. Let's get home and have a bacon butty. I better phone the missus and wake her up. I was wrong, I got a headwind all the way home. Isn't that typical? It's horrible up here. I got a headwind, rain, rubbish. And it's cold, my fingers are cold already. Oh. But it's only about 25 miles home. But it's the last time I'm going to be able to do it for quite a while, so, well, for a month. So I might as well get it done. I thought I'd better get this video made, but I'm not sure how quick I'll be able to edit it. I'm quite busy with a lot of other things, so I'll edit it as quickly as I can, probably a couple of weeks, but to mention with the dropouts of this bike, so for the rear axle you can move the rear axle backwards or forwards with the dropouts. I'll show you. So at the moment I've got it in the forward position. I think it came like that for the packing, I suppose, so it's quite nippy, I guess, and then you just take the little plastic bit out, little screws, and you adjust it and pull it back. and then put the little plastic thing back in, and then you've got more stable, a longer wheelbase, more stable bike. I reckon I'm on the flat, loaded up bike compared to my Boker loaded up with some normal road wheels on, or 38mm road wheels. I'm about 2/3 the speed with this thing, if that, so it is not fast. I've dumped the dropper post twice now, trying to change onto the upper ring on the upper chain ring. Twice I've just dropped my seat. What an idiot. Pointless. Right, so I've done a bit of road, bit of off-road, a lot of loose mud and etc. And overall this feels a lot more stable than a gravel bike, without a shadow of a doubt. And in fact I think it's probably more stable than my mountain bike, the Mascot, with the traditional bags on. It's certainly slower though. Yeah, but fitting the bags is brilliant. The bags go on so easily. Easily the best thing about this. There's no messing around. When you're packing up in the morning, it's just stuffs in it goes, and you strap it all on, and the straps on the front go on real quick. Love the front setup and the rear setup. Yeah, I've got it's all compartmentalized. I love it. But anyway, here we go. If I was going to do the Tour Divide, I'd probably take this bike. If I was going to race it, which that's never going to happen, then I'd be taking something like a Mason ISO. But if I'm just going to ride it and enjoy it and not have the hassle of the bags and the stability and everything else, then yeah, this bike is probably more what I would be going for. There are quite a few other bikes that are like this. It's still sort of a new group of bike which is coming out. You can take your normal hardtail or full sus, but and do it with the bags, but they're built to be nippy, etc. Whereas there's this new group of bikes coming which are out now, which have rigid front forks. They've probably got a longer wheelbase, they've got more bottle cages. They're kind of built to do this off-road bikepacking. One of the bikes I was looking at was the Brother Cycles Big Bro, and there are a number of other ones out there. Y Cycles, is it Y Cycles? A titanium bike there I saw, looked very tempting, but Big Bro was out of stock, and this thing by this stage had caught my mind, caught my eye, and it was the bag setup really that sold it. Just that ability to chuck bags on, to have more load carrying capacity, to have it more stable. I think it should be called wild biking because it feels like I'm going feral. But so if I was doing it on a road, I think distance wise, if I was going to do an 80 to 100 mile road bikepacking trip, this bike really is 40, 50, maybe 60 miles in a day. That is what I would probably plan. It's really hard work, and it's really taken it out of me, just getting this distance. I mean, I used to race down here on my road bike. It's really dragging arse. Bloody hell. Right, that's it. I'm soaked and I've had enough. I want to go in and have my bacon butty and a big long coffee. Overall then, that wasn't really the ride to go on that bike on. That was probably 70% road. So, but I've certainly learned about what the bike is like on the road. yeah, it is definitely this is an off-road bike. You don't want to be just doing short segments on the road to get places maybe, but any long effort, then I really wouldn't. I've learned that the distance that I need to be thinking about on a bike like this, so probably I'm looking at off-road in the sort of 40 to 50 mile region, maybe even less than that if it's all off-road and it's quite gnarly, maybe down to sort of 35-40 miles. And if there's quite a bit of road, there may be 50, maybe 60 miles in a day, but I really wouldn't want to go anything over that. Loads of good pluses. Off-road, it is great. It's stable with that load. It's stable. I can carry loads of stuff if I need to. I haven't fully loaded it yet and ridden it, so I'll do that down the line. I've learned that the saddle is rubbish. I need to move it further back. I don't have a good fit. My arms were aching a little bit. It's relatively racy riding position. The grips are not nice. The bars I would like to change. I would like to try a set of small tri-bars as well on there for those road sections. Yeah, I need another feed pouch, one for food or cameras and the other for drink, because having the drink bottle down there on the down tube, underneath the down tube, it's just not a big one like that. It's just not easy. It's not convenient. I was wanting to drink, but it was covered in mud, so that's maybe good for carrying water, for the evening or something like that. But love the dry bags. We'll soon see if everything's dry or not. I'm just going to leave it here, go down, relax, sort my life out, and then come out and get everything else out to dry, because I need to dry out first, because that was a honking finish to a ride. 50 miles. I'm really glad I did it. It's a month of lockdown now, so I might do a video indoors in the next couple of days. Anyway, cheerio.